Hey, welcome to an insider edition of the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden. Glad you could join me. How's your season going? Well, here, just fine, thank you. But we'll take a deeper dive into some of the things today, or last week, or on the opener that maybe you had to deal with. We're talking about two subjects today on the Insider episode. First, who doesn't need shooting help? Those first few days of the season are when we wish we had practiced more. And then, where the heck is my dog? Sometimes it's an inconvenience and sometimes it's a crisis. I've got some advice on both, and don't ask why I'm thinking about those things right now. Just know that these bits of advice may be of value to you as well. And as usual, the insider editions of the Upland Nation podcast are made possible thanks to the generous funding of Cable Gang's tie-out systems and Heartland Lodge. With additional support from Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, TrueLock Choke Tubes, Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food, Sage and Breaker Gun Care Products, Pointer Shotguns, and High Vis Sights. All right, so I just got a text and I offered some advice to somebody who basically inherited a couple dogs that he was told had bird hunting experience. Oh boy. And he wanted to take them hunting. Okay, well, that was a long and involved response, but it brought up this topic. And the first bit of advice I'll have for anybody, anywhere, anytime, if we're trying to find our dogs, is invest. Go ahead, invest in some sort of a GPS collar. I know they're not cheap, but they are the best insurance policy you'll have. And if you consider the investment you've made in your dog, the training, the effort, the energy, the emotion, heck, just the cost of dog food, the price of a GPS collar is a drop in the bucket. All right, beyond that, I made this observation a long time ago. Back when I got into the wire hair world, it seemed like every third dog was named Sage. And out here in the desert, I shouldn't be surprised because there's a lot of that. The problem is that kind of gray-brown color of a dog matches the gray-brown color of the sagebrush. And when the dog is on point, sometimes you can't tell the native plant from the dog. So since then, I've searched and searched for all sorts of ways to keep track of my mutt in the field. And more importantly, to find him, if I had to, if he was well and truly lost. So that's what we'll cover today. And boy, have I seen some real winners over the years. A brightly colored vest? Absolutely. A vest with a flagpole mounted on it? Yeah, there was a product out there for a while like that. So you could follow your dog just like in mining country where you follow the pickup with the big flag on the top. Yeah, that one didn't quite survive the proof of concept, but it was on the market for a while. Some have been with us ever since. And the vests are a perfect example of that. And, for close-in work, maybe a vest is all you need. But if you're looking for your dog and he doesn't have a vest on and you don't have a GPS collar yet, or maybe you do, but you're just looking for other ways to help. You might be lucky and your pointer has a 12 o'clock tail and it's white. Yes, the last 3 wire hairs I've had, the breeder docked the tail so that there's at least a nice white tip. And that'll help once in a while. A safer bet, a bright orange collar. You know, on TV I wear a blaze orange bandana around my neck. Well, now I'll open one out and put it on flick, just in case. I mentioned GPS collars, and there is nothing better. Sometimes some collars will have a flashing light, and if you're stuck with a beeper collar, obviously you know how to use that. But if that dog is off in the distance, I mean way in the distance, some of the places where I hunt, we got dogs working at 800 yards. You can't hear a beeper. You certainly can't see the dog very well most of the time. But if it's nice and dry out there, a cloud of dust might help you find out at least where your dog is generally. My first bird dog knew a lot more about bird hunting than I did at the time. I progressed a little bit, but so have they. They're still ahead of me on that. But I was looking for him, old Bill. He taught me to hunt, so to speak. And I couldn't find him anywhere. And my hunting buddy on the day, Clell, said, he's right over there. And I said, how do you know that? He said, just follow the trail of flushing birds. Yeah, Bill was pushing up every bird in the county. And we could track him that way. It wasn't the right way, but it worked. You got two dogs? Can't find the far one? Watch the close one. His hearing is so much better than yours. He will often cock his head in the direction that other dog is. Give you at least a vector. And by the way, if you hunt with horses, same thing. Quite often I've seen a horse find my dog long before I ever did. Okay, remember that old axiom about a blind person's other senses being heightened? Well, even you can listen carefully in the right conditions and hear a dog panting from quite a distance. If you can't see them, that's quite often the next best opportunity. You got collar tags or a real bell on your dog's collar. Sometimes that helps. If you can't see him, those senses are heightened just a bit. And I still can't figure out how you teach your dog to jiggle his collar bell once he hits a point so that you can actually track him down. That's why they invented beepers with hawk screams or some other kind of signal so you can track your dog. Now, we've had that debate online, of course. Does a beeper or that hawk scream scare birds or maybe hold birds? Well, Al Gadori, my good friend and pro guide in Montana, says hawks don't scream when they're hunting, so whether the hawk scream scares a bird into not flying or not is perhaps a question for somebody more qualified than us. The beeper as a last resort, absolutely. Because more important than shooting a bird is keeping track of your dog. Yep, they're both acquired tastes, but in some environments, you'd never find your dog otherwise. Yeah, I know. Hearing, listening for your dog isn't the same as seeing your dog or even seeing his icon on your GPS collar's handheld screen. But it is one other way to keep track of him when nothing else is working. And it's sure better than trying to buy yourself a blaze orange dog. I'm Scott Linden. This is the Upland Nation podcast, an insider edition. Real quick, because this merits its own discussion somewhere down the line. But right now, let's say your dog is well and truly lost. You've tried everything. Whistles, hand signals. Nothing will help you figure out where the heck your dog went. Here are some quick tips that you can follow anywhere, anytime. First off, the moment you realize your dog is gone, and I mean gone with a capital G, conduct a hasty search, just like the search and rescue guys do for a little kid. All hands on deck, the hunt stops, bring everybody together, spread out, and walk into the wind, because that's the most likely direction your dog went. Dead cow, whitetail in the distance, female dog from another hunter, all those things waft into their scent cone and they're after them. Everybody goes into the wind, spread out. And keep the dogs working for you too, because oftentimes, as I said earlier, a dog can find your dog faster than you ever will. Hopefully, they make a friend and bring him back. And I've seen that happen. So keep the other dogs in the search as well. Have you got a lost folder that you carry in your pickup truck? I got a bunch of posters with my dog's picture on it, all the contact information for me, masking tape and push pins so I can post those posters everywhere. Over the next few hours, I'm going back to where I lost that dog. You know the trick about leaving something you've been wearing in a bowl of water. There's a good chance if a dog is looking for you, he'll stick close to that. So check back where you lost the dog first, frequently. Also check with everybody who's running around out in that country, a UPS driver, the postal workers, the sheriff. Also check local veterinarians and, of course, humane societies, that sort of thing. And keep searching. Neighbor lost his old Labrador many, many years ago. We mobilized a massive search out there in the forest behind our place. Nobody found anything for 4 days. And then it was some random guy 11 miles away across 2 state highways. Tala came home in one piece, a little bit worse for wear, but nobody ever gave up. And that's the happy ending. All right. Well, that's how you keep your eye on your dog. Keeping your eye on the bird, such as it is, and learning to shoot a little bit better while you're in the field is coming up. I'll have some advice and observations based on my own experience coming up in just a moment. First, this word from Cable Gangs, cables, GANGZ.com. You know, I got a lot of pet peeves. I'm sorry. I'm just that kind of guy. But one of them is all of my tie-out stakes have failed me until now. You know, you reef on that top, the cap, if you will, so that you can pound that thing into the ground and keep your dog safe. You get it in deep enough, and what happens to the cap on that tie-out stake? It mushrooms, it pushes down. After a few whacks or a few uses, it doesn't swivel anymore. Well, they've overcome that problem with better materials and better engineering. Learn more about how their construction, materials, and design are superior. Oh, and get 10% off everything except gift cards with the code CG10. Go to cablegangs.com. And maybe you saw us on Wing Shooting USA, the TV show, at Heartland Lodge. Just got back, enjoyed the heck out of my visit. Planning to go again real soon. If you're looking for a bucket list lodge experience, this is where you go. It's a top-tier Orvis-endorsed lodge. And they've got everything, including a new kennel facility for your hunting partner. He'll be pampered just like you. Any booking will get you a goodie basket and a free Heartland Lodge hat. Just go to heartlandlodge.com. Tell them you saw it on Wing Shooting USA, the TV show. And welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. This is an insider edition. Scott Linden here, sharing my bad luck stories so you don't have to share yours. Although I love hearing them, and we all learn from those. If you've done that on social media in particular, thank you so much. I thank you on behalf of everybody else who read or heard your story as well. As you know, I'm television's worst wing shooter. Whether I'm in the Dakotas, Kansas, Nebraska, it doesn't matter. Yeah, all those places they will claim are so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. You stand on a tuna fish can and you can watch him run away for a week, but it doesn't matter. If you can't see your dog, you can't shoot as well as you think you could. Now, I know I spent the whole first half of the podcast talking about trying to find your dog, see your dog, hear your dog. Well, I've got another argument for exactly that right now. And while it's legal in many states right now, I'm not telling you to get high while you're hunting. At least not literally. I mean chemically. I'm talking about figuratively and maybe, what would I call it? Altitudinally. By raising your perspective just a foot or two, or more if you can, you might put another bird or two in your vest on a hunt. Yeah, here's my argument. First off, you can see your dog getting birdie a lot sooner. That means you have a few extra seconds to get yourself ready in position for a safe, accurate shot. Now, earlier, we talked about all the stuff that gets in the way of viewing your dog. Brush, rocks, folds in the terrain, trees in the grouse woods, or even in chucker country. Don't ask. As the bushes get taller and the gullies deeper, they are more likely to block your view of the dog. I got a beep back when I was still learning my GPS collar. I got a beep. I looked at it. I was trying to figure out where my dog was. All I could see was a featureless landscape until, there was a big gully. Not too big, big enough. I couldn't see the dog, but I could tell that's got to be where he is. Thanks to the GPS collar. Did you make a note of that from the first half? Okay, good. Never would have seen a waving tail or all those other things that indicate a dog getting birdie because he was invisible. In that case, in a gully, could have been a boulder, could have been a thicket of some sort of shrub. And as I said, all my wire hairs blend into the vegetation and are virtually invisible when they stop moving. So when I can't find my dog, I climb. Doesn't have to be a lot, but just enough to revise the geometry in my favor. Yep, in my own legal, ethical, safe way, I get high. So if you think your dog is down in that creek bottom, trailing a ringneck, get up to the lip of the drop-off in that geography and see if you can't find him then. Or at least see the moving brush, for example. If you think he's hot on the trail of a bunch of quail at the bottom of the draw, side hill your way up a few feet on the slope. If you got a railroad grade nearby, and I've had that happen a couple times on pheasant hunts, go up to the top. Look both ways and all that jazz, but go up to the top of that grade. Sometimes it's an old abandoned trail or a dirt road or a cattle path. Sometimes I'm grateful that some of the ranchers have run cows in some of that more vertical country. I can get up there, plant my feet, and search harder for my dog as he's searching harder for birds. I once found my dog on point while I was on a little kind of jerry-rigged footbridge across a creek. It all helps. They're all just a little bit taller, and they change the angle of your view enough to maybe you'll see that tail sticking straight up, or at least the bushes moving, or maybe even a whole dog, and maybe he's on point. I was lucky enough to hunt in California's rice country back when there were pheasants in California. And that basically those are really shallow square ponds. They call them rice checks down there, but they're all enclosed by 3-foot dikes. They're not very tall, but they're tall enough once the crop is harvested to where you can actually see your dog for a lot. Hey, if you know geometry, you can do the math on this stuff. You can figure out, if I can get a foot higher, how much farther into the distance can I see? I'm just a music major. I can count to 4, but that's not enough to do the geometry. Irrigation canals, they all have levees. That's the whole idea. What a convenient little elevator when your dog is muddling around in the head-high crops down on the bottom of that. And if you're conserving energy, lazy, you can limp along the bottom of the draw while your dog is working the slopes. All right, so maybe you don't have topography to raise your dog consciousness. There's probably a convenient stump, a rock, or a log. And, like I said, another foot, maybe 2. Open and unload your gun, because the last thing you need is for that elevation to be suddenly altered and you landing hard on the ground. Safety first. And when all else fails, imitate Bigfoot. You've seen Bigfoot on the TV show. She's that lovely, spirited black Labrador that Al Gadori runs. Thanks again, Al, for introducing us. She may stop and be told to sit while we walk in on the pointed birds. But when the bird flies, she won't sit, she won't run, but she'll jump up into the air. So again, a careful, safety first, open gun jump may give you a foot or 2 of visibility. And it beats carrying a tuna can, doesn't it? Well, there you go. 2 things that could help you today, tomorrow, or next season. The Upland Nation Insider Editions are made possible by Cable Gangs, Tie-Out Systems, and Heartland Lodge. CableGangs.com and HeartlandLodge.com. Learn more about both of them. We have additional support from MidValleyClays.com, TrueLockChokes.com, ProPlansport.com, SageandBreaker.com, PointerShotguns.com, and High-Vis Sights. Thanks again for listening to the Upland Nation. If you enjoy it, please tell one person and leave a rating at Apple Podcasts. I'm Scott Linden. Hope your season continues to go well.